1.49 million pre-saves in 48 hours. Record or rigged? Jungkook's name dragged in as Si-hyuk is accused of selling the Jungkook magnet. Is this the purest proof of global fandom power, or the most sophisticated marketing illusion the music industry has ever seen? When the number 1.49 million appeared next to the word pre-save for BTS's upcoming album Arirang, the internet did not just celebrate. It froze, blinked, and then exploded. Less than 48 hours. A number no Asian artist had ever touched in the history of Spotify's Countdown Albums chart. Fans screamed legendary.
Skeptique whisperda possible.
And in the middle of that digital storm, one name began to surface again, and again like a shadow behind the spotlight. Jungkook. Was this really about the album? Or was this about the most powerful name in K-pop being quietly used as the ultimate magnet? Because the moment the record was announced, the celebration was instantly followed by suspicion. How could an album with no revealed tracklist, no song titles, no teaser melodies, only placeholders like Track 1, Track 2, Track 3, generate almost 1.5 million pre-saves in less than 2 days? Was this raw passion, or was it a machine working perfectly behind the scenes? And then came the sharpest accusation of all. Some netizens did not just question the fans. They questioned Si-hyuk. They said he was not selling music anymore. They said he was selling Jungkook. The phrase that spread like wildfire across social media was brutal and simple. Si-hyuk is selling the Jungkook magnet. And once that sentence existed, the story of Arirang was no longer just about a record. It became a battlefield between belief and doubt, between fandom pride and industry cynicism, between those who saw history being made and those who saw history being engineered. What really happened in those 48 hours? On January 18, 2026, reports confirmed that BTS's upcoming album Arirang had reached 1.49 million pre-saves on Spotify, rising to the number 1 position on the Countdown Albums chart. It became the most pre-saved album by an Asian artist in the chart's history and the second highest overall since the chart was launched. The album is scheduled for release on March 20th, 2026. At the time the pre-save numbers exploded, the tracklist was still hidden behind generic placeholders. No song names, no featured artists.
No llane confirmation.
Just silence and numbers. For many fans, that silence was not a problem. In fact, it was part of the magic. They said, "We don't need details. We trust BTS." Across platforms like X, Reddit, and Instagram, ARMY shared links, tutorials, and countdowns. In Indonesia, Brazil, the United States, Japan, India, and dozens of other countries, fans competed playfully. Who could get more friends to pre-save? Who could push the number higher before sunrise? Some fans even set public goals. 7 million pre-saves before release. We're coming for number 1. The impact of BTS. This is history in real time. But while one side was celebrating, another side was sharpening its knives. How can this be real? Skeptics asked. You're telling me an album with 0 revealed songs beats artists who release teasers, singles, even full concepts? They pointed to comparisons. Stray Kids' album Do It needed 30 days to reach 1 million pre-saves. Tame Impala's Deadbeat needed 42 days. Yet BTS needed less than 2, Taehyung. This was not impressive. It was suspicious. That's when the word manipulation started to trend. The theory was simple but explosive. Pre-save systems are easy to game. Fan projects can coordinate mass actions. Bots can inflate numbers. Cross-country campaigns can create artificial surges. And when you combine that with the biggest fandom in the world, the result can look less like organic excitement and more like a perfectly executed operation. And then someone asked the question that changed everything. Why does this feel like Jungkook is at the center of it? Jungkook's fanbase is widely considered the largest and most aggressive in promotion within the BTS ecosystem. Even during solo eras, anything linked to Jungkook often trends faster, spreads wider, and mobilizes harder than almost any other name in K-pop. His name alone can drive clicks, shares, and headlines. When Arirang began trending, some fans noticed something interesting. Many promotional fan posts subtly highlighted Jungkook. Not officially, no company statement said, This is Jungkook's era. But emotionally, culturally, algorithmically, his name kept appearing. Pre-save for Jungkook. Do it for Jungkook. Jungkook deserves this record. And suddenly, skeptics said, aha, this is not just BTS. This is Jungkook power being activated. That's where Bang Si-hyuk entered the conversation, as the founder of HYB and the architect behind BTS's global strategy. Bang Si-hyuk has long been praised as a visionary. But now, critics began to paint him as a master salesman who knows exactly which name sells the hardest. They accused him of designing the pre-save campaign to emotionally trigger Jungkook's fandom first. The theory went like this: ignite Jungkook fans early, let their massive numbers push the counter up fast, then let that shocking number attract fans of other members and casual listeners. A snowball effect. Jungkook as the spark, BTS as the wildfire. Is this album being sold by music or by magnet names? One viral post asked, another wrote, Bang Si-hyuk isn't promoting Arirang. He's selling Jungkook's shadow. That sentence alone gathered thousands of shares. But here is where the story becomes more complicated, because for every skeptic, there was an army ready to fight back. They said the accusation itself was insulting. Insulting to BTS. Insulting to Jungkook. Insulting to millions of fans who genuinely love the group. Why is it always manipulation when BTS wins? One fan wrote, why can't it just be power? They argued that BTS is not just a group anymore. It is a global cultural force. Even when members are in military service or focused on solo projects, the brand BTS still holds emotional weight for millions of people. When fans hear "come back," they don't need details. They need a date, and the date was enough. They also pointed out that pre-save links were shared openly across all platforms, not just Jungkook fan circles. Indonesian fans, for example, launched their own campaigns unrelated to any single member. Brazilian armies created countdown graphics. American fans ran TikTok tutorials. This was not one fandom inside another. It was a global machine built by years of loyalty. But skeptics were not convinced. They asked another dangerous question. If this is so organic, why does it look so perfect? The curve of the pre-save growth was almost too clean, too fast, too unstoppable. In the age of digital marketing, perfection itself can look suspicious. Real life is messy. Trends usually rise and fall, slow down, spike, then flatten. But Arirang seemed to rise like a rocket and never look back. Some analysts pointed out that coordinated fan bases can create that illusion. When thousands of fan accounts release the same call to action at the same time, it can look like spontaneous chaos while actually being organized precision. Is that manipulation? Or is that fandom power? That question sits at the heart of this entire controversy, because the truth is uncomfortable. The modern music industry no longer sells only songs. It sells emotion, identity, loyalty, and community. And BTS, more than almost any other act, has mastered that system, which brings us back to Jungkook. Why does his name matter so much in this debate? Because Jungkook represents the perfect storm of popularity. He is not just loved by BTS fans. He is loved by casual listeners, by non-K-pop fans, by people who may not even follow BTS closely. His solo releases have shown that his name alone can dominate charts, trends, and headlines. When critics say Bang Si-hyuk is selling the Jungkook magnet, what they really mean is this. In an industry driven by attention, Jungkook is attention, and attention is money. But here's the twist that many people ignore. If using Jungkook's popularity to boost BTS is considered manipulation, then what is marketing? Every company uses its strongest asset to sell its product. Hollywood uses its biggest stars to sell movies. Fashion brands use their most famous ambassadors. Tech companies use celebrity endorsements. So why is it suddenly unethical when HYB uses the emotional weight of Jungkook's name, whether directly or indirectly, to push an album? The line between smart strategy and dirty manipulation is thin, and everyone draws it in a different place. For some, the moment fans feel emotionally activated is already manipulation. For others, that emotional bond is exactly what makes fandom real. But the debate does not stop there, because another question is even more dangerous. Is the industry still selling music, or just selling figures? When Arirang reached 1.49 million pre-saves, most headlines focused on the number, not the music. No one talked about melodies. No one talked about lyrics.
No one talked about sound.
They talked about records. That, some critics say, is the real tragedy. Music has become secondary. Numbers are the story. Artists are brands. Fans are engines. And in that system, the biggest engine always wins. Which means maybe this is not about Jungkook. Maybe it is not even about BTS. Maybe it is about an industry that no longer asks, is this good? But only asks, how big is this? Still, supporters reject that cynical view. They say numbers are not replacing music, they are just reflecting love. Fans are not machines. They are people who grew up with BTS, cried with BTS, survived hard years with BTS. When they pre-save, they are not thinking about charts. They're thinking about memories. They're thinking about reunion. They're thinking about healing. They're thinking about the day all seven stand together again. And that emotional background is why even a placeholder tracklist can feel powerful. When Arirang is scheduled to be released on March 20th, 2026, it will arrive not just as an album, but as a symbol. A symbol of return. A symbol of continuity. A symbol of survival through time, distance, and obligation. When fans pre-save, they are not buying silence. They are buying hope. But skeptics will answer, hope is exactly what marketing sells best. And then they will ask again, why does Jungkook's name keep floating to the surface every time this hope is sold? Maybe because in every story, people look for a face. And Jungkook's face is one of the most recognizable in global pop culture. Whether he is officially promoted or not, his presence is always felt, which makes the accusation against Bang Si-hyuk both powerful and fragile. Powerful because it taps into real industry fears, that corporations manipulate emotions for profit. Fragile because it assumes fans are powerless, brainwashed, and incapable of making their own choices. Most armies reject that idea fiercely. They say, we are not robots. We know what we're doing. Yet, at the same time, they proudly coordinate projects, goals, and campaigns. They move like a machine by choice. What is that? Manipulation or organized passion? The answer depends on where you stand. If you distrust the industry, you will see 1.49 million pre-saves in 48 hours as too perfect to be pure. If you trust the fandom, you'll see it as the natural result of years of emotional investment. And if you look at Jungkook, you will see a name that has become so powerful that even when he does nothing, his shadow moves markets, which leads to the most uncomfortable question of all. What if both sides are right? What if the pre-save record is real and strategically engineered at the same time? What if fans genuinely love BTS and companies genuinely know how to turn that love into numbers? What if Jungkook is not being sold, but his presence is simply impossible to separate from BTS's power? In that case, the line between record and strategy does not exist. They are the same thing, because in 2026, success is not just about talent. It is about timing, narrative, emotion, and names that move hearts before they move charts. And right now, few names move hearts like Jungkook. When people say Bang Si-hyuk is selling the Jungkook magnet, maybe they are not exposing a scandal. Maybe they are just describing how modern pop works. Still, the debate will not end. As March 20th approaches, every teaser, every rumor, every leak will be examined through this lens. Is this about music or about magnets? Is this about BTS or about Jungkook? Is this about love or about strategy? And when Arirang finally drops, one thing is certain, if it breaks more records, believers will say, we told you, this is real power. Skeptics will say, of course it did. The machine is working. And somewhere in the middle, millions of fans will simply press play, not to prove a theory, but to hear the music they've been waiting for. The real question is not whether 1.49 million pre-saves were a record or a manipulation. The real question is this: in an era where emotion is currency and attention is everything, can any record ever be just a record anymore? And as the days move closer to March 20th, 2026, the tension around Arirang does not cool down. It thickens. Every hour without new information becomes fuel. Every silence becomes a clue. Every minor movement by HYB, by any BTS member, by any producer linked to the project is read like a secret code. Why is nothing being revealed? Why are the tracks still hidden behind track 1, track 2,